was a teenager that loved being outside in nature, loved working with plants. I was always picking flowers, and as a little girl even, I was always making perfumes, putting roses in water in little bottles. But when I was about 15, I was living in Copenhagen, and I was taken to visit an extraordinary woman who was called Lys, which means light actually in Danish. Went to her bookshelves in her flat, which were all lined with little bottles, beautiful little bottles rather than books. And I remember she took about 6 or 7 down from the shelf, sat down and took the tops off and then handed each one to me. And when she handed them across, she'd say, "Tell me what you think of this one. What does it make you feel like? Does it bring up any memories for you? What colour do you think it would be if it was a colour?" I sat there, I was absolutely astonished because I'd never had anything like this before. But by the time I was on the second bottle, I was just blown away by the experiences I was having. I think the oil that first hit me in the heart, if you like, because it felt such a dramatic sensation, was working with silver fir. I remember having a flashback going back into a sort of Siberian forest and trudging through the snow many lifetimes ago, when I was a very simple girl carrying my leather pouch of medicines with me. So that oil, silver fir, has the ability to take people right back to the root of who they are, which can be a very useful tool when people are trying to learn more about themselves in order to heal some aspects of their life. By the end of that tea party, that session, I knew that these oils were really going to be very important in my life. So with Lys, I was trained by her for 3 years. And she trained me in a repertoire of about 20 oils. So I had to learn where each oil came from, how it was made, because there are various different methods, what it could be used for, what its deeper, subtle qualities were all about. But I also had to learn to see the vibration and the energy field that they each have, and then subsequently create mandalas. And I was very lucky because she trained me in what is the myrrhophore tradition. She was a mistress of the oils, and that is what I am now. So myrrhophore also means a woman who works with myrrh.
Sort of like the oil carriers.
Yes, that's right. We are the living oil carriers, transmitting the qualities and the vibrational frequencies of the oils, using ourselves as the vessels, having the oils on our own hands, and then touching the hands or the feet of another person. And that is how the oils work with their healing, and they rebalance and realign us.
Having walked around your beautiful garden, the rose is very prominent and it's of the heart. And you're talking about the myrrhophore tradition, and we think of Mary Magdalene.
We do, absolutely. Mary Magdalene was the most iconic figure of this tradition, and my lineage dates right back to her. And the rose is a very special and beautiful and beloved oil of this tradition because of its affinity with the divine feminine, with healing, with the heart, with nurturing the soul and the deepest places within ourselves. So I am blessed to have a garden where I grow many different varieties of roses. From them, I managed to then make my own sacred rose oil,
of which I have some, and it's amazing.
Every single step of the process, from growing the plant, harvesting the plant, and then creating the oil, is done with a focus of complete loving intention, asking for the oil to always be used for the highest good as well. Each flower is harvested at the peak moment for it. I infuse them in rapeseed oil. There may be 5 or 6 infusions that take place. I sometimes add some flower tincture to go with it, crystals around them. I also follow the moon and its phases. So for instance, I make jasmine oil, and jasmine blooms are at their best between the hours of midnight and 5 a.m. and they have to be at the peak of perfection. So an oil, before it is actually ready to be used, will be potentized over a lunar calendar month. I have rosemary I work with, I have sage, I have wonderful marigolds, calendula, and in fact marigold is one of the totem oils of this tradition as well. Mary's gold. Very useful oil if you're undecided about something, or if you're at a turning point in life. By working with marigold, by meditating, even by putting a little drop here or again on the heart, we'll get clarity. So there are all sorts of techniques and practices and rituals associated with creating sacred oils. It takes me throughout the year. I start with violets. I especially love working with white violets.
Tell me about the powerful effect of the iris.
Yes, the iris is a very, very intriguing oil. I found out that the irises grow wild on the slopes of Nazareth. And so it made complete sense to me that Mary Magdalene would probably have worked herself with iris oil. One of the things that we do when we're working with a new oil is to sit in meditation with it, putting a little bit on your heart area or perhaps on the third eye, and then tuning into it and then asking it questions. And Iris began to talk to me, healing that was needed from women who have harmed or upset in some way other women. So again, with my own garden, I am growing many different types of iris, but especially the Nazareth iris. Violet is one of the number one tools for working with end of life, and especially raw and unexpressed grief. Various suppressed emotions will come up to the surface to be released. I know many care homes now who have their bottles of violet oil. Part of the myrrhophore tradition is about doing very esoteric work, so it's not always about just healing obvious symptoms, but it looks at the psychospiritual symptoms of people as well. Because I do a lot of high energy work, I need to be able to ground. It's the most glorious joy for me stepping outside in my garden every day and seeing the colours, smelling the smells, seeing how the light falls, the wind blows, the butterflies, the birds. To me, my garden is the Garden of Eden. It is paradise for me. I know all my plants as friends, so it is literally like walking into a room and saying, well, hello, how are you today? And you're looking better than yesterday. And would you mind if I picked one of your rosebuds, because it would be lovely to have you on my desk while I write today or whatever. And I'm lucky to have an orchard with many different types of apple trees, eaters, cookers, crab apples, cider apples. They all talk to each other. There's almost like a choir of apple trees singing, which really feeds the environment. You know, the apple is so feminine, so nourishing, so feeding.
Water's important to you in your life. Tell me about the beaches around here and swimming.
Well, my other way of healing myself is to swim, and I swim every single day, and no wetsuit. So I jump in the sea and I feel totally blessed, cleansed, liberated. I am at one with the water. I am a very water-based person. I'm a Piscean, so the minute I get into the sea, it's hello, here I am, I'm home.
And there's something about the sound of the waves which is so relaxing.
Because it's such a liminal space. You know, when you lie on the seashore, you are betwixt land and sea. And I think spending so much of my working life as I do, helping people between life and death, I recharge myself. It just completely sort of weaves in and out of my own well-being, and I couldn't live far away from the sea. I never could.